Tonight, 911, anyone there? Ambulances are backlogged and paramedics are burnt out. And an unfortunate milestone. Saskatchewan is on track to see more drug overdose deaths than ever before.
Stop! Oh, it's got to go!
Plus, hundreds of workers fight for their jobs as the province announces it's shutting down government-owned liquor stores.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It's Thursday, October 27th. CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. Saskatchewan is facing a shortage of ambulances, and people are sometimes having to wait a long time for emergency responders. At the same time, paramedics are getting burned out, trying to keep up with the demand. Laura Sharpaletti brings us this story.
On Wednesday, Regina EMS responded to 135 calls for service. According to the SHA, the daily average from the previous year was 95 calls. This is just one example of the increased pressure EMS workers are feeling.
And the main reason is because of the overcrowded emergency room and then the chronic understaffing. And that is what is leading into this increased wait time for ambulances in this province. And we have been talking about this for a long, long time.
Packed emergency rooms are a big part of the problem. That's because EMS workers have to stay with the patients until they are admitted. That has led to a backup in service. In a statement, the SHA said the Ministry of Health and SHA are aware that there are times where call volumes may exceed anticipated and planned for staffing levels. During these situations, the SHA will assess the situation and call in additional EMS resources and triage calls to ensure ambulances are dispatched to patients requiring urgent care. The ambulance shortage and long wait times also go beyond Regina.
We do have a target within the ministry in rural areas to try to have response times of 30 minutes or less to an EMS call in rural areas. And our most recent statistics, I think from a year or two ago, have us achieving that about 73% of the time.
The SHA says it's working on a plan to address staffing across the province. But the union representing healthcare workers says it's taking too long.
You know, now that the government has started to listen to some of the calls that we have been, the concern that we have been raising, that they will put a serious effort to try to address the situation, because right now it is very scary and dangerous.
Paramedics are also burning out. Many are working long hours without taking breaks.
I think a lot of them are struggling right now with ways to cope with the increased stress and the increased workload. It's really a focus on mental health right now. We're really trying hard to convince paramedics to take care of themselves. The real big things are eating a good diet, like a balanced diet, getting enough sleep, especially with the shift work.
The official opposition is also calling on the province to come up with a more robust and immediate plan to deal with the shortages and wait times. Laura Sharpaletti, CBC News, Regina.
People are raising serious concerns about Saskatchewan's overdose crisis and are begging for more to be done. The province is on track to set a record for the number of people dying from drug overdoses. Yasmin Ghanea looks at why the problem keeps getting worse and what possible solutions exist.
Megan Jasper hasn't used drugs in 5 years.
This is my auntie, me, and my sister. You know, my addiction was just starting here, and my sister had never used at all.
Now her younger sister overdoses multiple times a week.
It's scary not knowing if I'm going to wake up to that phone call or to a rest in peace post about her.
The province's chief coroner expects a record number of overdose deaths in Saskatchewan this year. That number could hit the mid to high 400s, driven in part by a more toxic drug supply.
The criminal drug market is robust, and they're using fentanyl like they've never used it before.
It's why organizations give people a space to use under medical supervision and test drugs.
We've had about 40 overdoses that have been reversed.
Some groups are also getting drug checking spectrometers from the province. The machines detect the exact percentage of chemicals in a sample, but they've been sitting in boxes since the summer, waiting for staff to be trained.
Training just seems to be getting pushed back month by month.
The government blames IT issues for the delays. Organizations say it's a missed opportunity to save lives.
We don't have any more resources that we can offer.
More money is also needed. The safe consumption site in Saskatoon has been denied provincial funding 3 years in a row, and the Regina site can only open from 9 to 4. Emile Garapi says clients have died of overdoses when it was closed.
It happens far too often that, and these are people that I have in every single day.
As for Megan Jasper, she hopes more support becomes available before it's too late.
In a year from now, I don't know if, will I be saying that this was my sister? She died last year.
Yasmin Ghaneya, CBC News, Regina.
Hundreds of people gathered outside the provincial legislature this morning. They were protesting the government's decision to get out of the retail liquor store business.
Scott Moe has got to go! Scott Moe has got to go!
The sudden announcement to scrap government liquor stores was made in yesterday's throne speech. Employees of the Saskatchewan Liquor and Gaming Authority are shocked. Some say they only found out they were losing their jobs when they heard it on the news.
We were competitive. We were providing money to this province. So for them to come around and just literally hit us in the side of the head with this legislation and with this throne speech was devastating for us. Like, we don't really know how to react to it.
The union says about 350 people will lose their jobs as a result. The province says it will remain in the wholesale business, but that the stores were losing money. 34 liquor licenses associated with the stores will be auctioned off next year. A Saskatchewan MLA now admits it was a bad idea to invite convicted killer Colin Thatcher to Wednesday's throne speech. The first question period of the fall sitting focused on Thatcher's presence at the legislature. The opposition says it sends an awful message, especially considering the government has declared this Violence Prevention Week. Adam Hunter has the story.
Carla Beck used her first question period as opposition leader to ask Premier Moe to apologize for allowing Colin Thatcher to attend Wednesday's throne speech. He was invited by veteran MLA Lyle Stewart.
That senior member of government who invited Thatcher said he was, quote, a fine individual. Does the Premier understand the signal that this sends in a province with the highest in the nation interpersonal violence rates?
The Premier did not answer as the Speaker ruled the question and two subsequent questions out of order. Opposition Status for Women critic Jennifer Bowes read into the record the details of the murder of Thatcher's ex-wife, Joanne Wilson.
At about 6 o'clock in the evening of January 21st, 1983, Joanne Wilson came home, drove into the garage of her home, and was ferociously beaten and then shot to death.
Colin Thatcher, the former Saskatchewan cabinet minister, has been charged with the murder of his ex-wife.
Thatcher was arrested this morning and then taken before a provincial court judge.
Thatcher was found guilty of first-degree murder in 1984 and sentenced to life in prison with no parole for 25 years. He was released in 2006 and remains on parole. Before question period started, Stewart issued a statement. It was my decision alone to invite Colin Thatcher, who is a constituent and a longtime friend. In retrospect, this was an error in judgment, and his presence was a distraction from a very positive and forward-looking throne speech. Premier Moe says he was unaware of Thatcher's invitation, saying those decisions are made by MLAs. He says he would not have invited him.
Tremendously unfortunate that this has happened. The fact of the matter is that we had an individual MLA that extended an invitation. I said I most certainly would not have extended that invitation.
Beck says the government has lost credibility on dealing with domestic violence by inviting Thatcher.
I believe that Minister Stewart suggested that if anyone had a right to be here, it was Colin Thatcher. I mean, that is a quote that I think will go down in infamy in this province. It's appalling lack of sensitivity.
Beck was also critical of Minister of Corrections and Policing Christine Tell, who said on Wednesday that Thatcher had a right to be in the Assembly. Adam Hunter, CBC News, Regina.
The mother of a 25-year-old woman wants RCMP to take her daughter's death more seriously. Tristan Job was found in medical distress on a golf course in Creighton earlier this month. She was declared dead at the scene. Now Job's mother, Val Charlotte, has filed a complaint with the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations.
She was I hate to say this, just another stat, another statistic of Indigenous women going missing or murdered in this country.
Job was a member of the Peter Ballantyne Cree Nation. Her mother believes Job's death was suspicious, even though the autopsy did not find it was criminal in nature. Cameco says 2 of its operations in northern Saskatchewan are on track to open soon. The McArthur River Uranium Mine and Key Lake Mill should be up and running sometime this year. Cameco closed both sites in 2018 due to a lack of demand for uranium, but the company says markets are rebounding. The company's CEO says Cameco has already hired between 500 and 600 people over the last year to work at the plants. It has also installed new equipment to make the mine and mill safer and more efficient. Grey Cup festivities in Regina will be kicking off with a bang. Colin James will headline a free show on November 16th at the International Trade Centre. The Grey Cup Festival is happening November 15th to 20th at the Real Grounds. There will be an outdoor fun area for families, CFL team-themed party rooms, and even video game tournaments. There's an app you can download to keep tabs on all of the events. We'll be back after the break.
Always been in trouble.
More Canadians are using food banks than ever before. That's according to a new report from Food Banks Canada. Julia Wong breaks down the numbers and looks at who needs help the most.
The hum of activity is pretty much constant at food banks across the country. There were close to 1.5 million visits to them this past March, a 15% increase from the year before, and a 35% jump from before the pandemic.
Inflation and the cost of living has climbed so much that people can't afford to purchase food or pay their rents, but it's also showing that we've got a broken social safety net. So we've got people who should be supported who are no longer able to make ends meet.
Some of the stuff we go to the food bank.
It's a reality Linda Jodin knows all too well. The 72-year-old Edmonton woman is part of a growing number of seniors turning to food banks.
The rent's gone up and the inflation's gone up, so it's kind of hard sometimes to make ends meet.
Nationally, food banks are swamped. More than 45% of clients are from single adult households. 1 in 3 are children. And more than 7% are post-secondary students, an increase from 5% 3 years ago. Other organizations are stepping in to help, like this one that delivers meals to those in need.
Usually people who are kind of middle-aged, people who are in charge of families. There are seniors, there are also parents who have children who need food to support their families.
Alicia Emberley is a stay-at-home mom with 4 kids. She never thought she would need to use the food bank.
There's a lot of things that we can't afford to be getting for our children because I can't afford to pay the prices for everything that's gone up.
Yeah.
Quinn Wade started this free pantry box during the pandemic. There are many like it across the country. Neighborhood residents fill them with non-perishables, and it's open to anyone. No paperwork required, no questions asked.
I'm starting to realize now that it's a never-ending thing. This isn't a pandemic thing, it's a never-ending thing.
We need all different types of solutions, and we really need everyone in this country to care about the level of need.
So all Canadians have food on the table. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. 22 model clear out is on now.
Weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. The sun was a delight to see in Regina today. What's it looking like across the province, Ethan?
Well, lots of other areas, Natasha, getting to bask
in that nice sunshine. In fact, as we take a look at satellite and radar, we did have cloud cover through much of the southern part of the province a little bit earlier today, but that cleared out of the way. Even had a little bit of rain and snow moving kind of along the Yellowhead Highway, but that has started to move out. A few stray showers in the west central part of the province are starting to clear as well, but for the most part, we should be remaining mainly clear through the night in much of the southern half of the province. Temperatures right now mostly in the single digits through the province, and quite a variation here, just like we had yesterday. In fact, Swift Current was the cold spot, while Maple Creek was the hot spot in the province today. And even between Regina and Weyburn, there was a little bit of about a 6-degree temperature difference between those two locations earlier today. Again, kind of dependent on where the snow fell over the weekend. You can see that pattern of cooler temperatures where we had that accumulation, and some of it as well to do with the wind speeds that we had, because it has been quite a gusty day, especially in southwestern Saskatchewan, and they have wind warnings in Alberta. Gusts in some places around Kananaskis today over 150 kilometers an hour. Certainly not seeing anything like that, but gusts have been picking up through much of the day today and will continue over the next couple of days. And that is because you can see here in our upper atmosphere we have this very tight color gradient here. That means that those winds are going to be continuing, but our weather is going to remain fairly stable over these next few days. We had a lot to talk about over the weekend with the storm moving through, but our jet stream moving mostly just west to east, zonal flow that's called. There's no major bevels in it or anything like that bringing any significant weather our way, and that means this map going to stay mostly clear, save for this wind gradient that you see here. Maybe some showers along the far north of the province tonight. Going into tomorrow, it looks like we will see mainly clear conditions. Central part of the province could see a little bit of cloud cover come the afternoon. And then as we head into Saturday, we are watching another low pressure system, this one a little bit weaker, which will bring a little bit more gusty winds and some moisture to the north of the province once again. Wind gusts tonight are going to stay fairly strong, especially in southwestern Saskatchewan. You could see gusts in the middle of the night up to around 40 kilometers an hour. Getting to tomorrow afternoon, it looks like gustiest conditions will still be in the southwest. Much of the south going to see winds. Central part of the province will get a bit of a break, but that passing low pressure system will keep things breezy in the north. And then heading into Saturday, that other system moving through, bringing some pretty gusty conditions to the northwestern part of the province, while the rest of us will remain on the fairly light side in terms of winds. Now, Regina over these next few days going to be seeing things well above average as we head through the weekend. Halloween looking like it's going to be a beautiful day. Cool down happens through the middle of next week when we get close to the freezing mark. In Saskatoon, very nice over these next few days. Look at that, an overnight low of 5 degrees on Sunday. So still going to be quite warm over these next few days. And I think the trick-or-treaters, Natasha, going to be enjoying this forecast.
I am rooting for those trick-or-treaters not to have to wear a parka over their costumes. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
These dogs and their human companions were part of a costume festival in Key West, Florida. There were pirates and mermaids, rock stars and unicorns, characters from the movies Beetlejuice and the Rocky Horror Picture Show. But the masquerade wasn't just for fun. Proceeds will benefit a local animal welfare charity. We'll be back after the break. Four children have died following a fire at a home in Thompson, Manitoba. Fire crews and other emergency responders rushed to the scene last night to find the residents up in flames.
The residents, from what I've been told, was pretty much completely involved in fire, at least on the main floor. So the firefighters couldn't enter right away. They had to put some of that fire out before they could get upstairs with their gear, and basically that's when they located the kids.
Police say 2 adults and a 13-year-old girl managed to escape, but 4 children were trapped inside. They were taken to hospital but didn't survive. The cause of the fire has yet to be determined. We learned more today about police concerns during the protest in Ottawa last winter. 10 days before the Ottawa police chief resigned, the head of the RCMP communicated that the federal government was losing confidence in the local force. Rafi Boudjikanian has the latest on the inquiry into the use of the Emergencies Act.
By February 5th, the protest convoy was so entrenched in downtown Ottawa, there were bouncy castles steps from the House of Commons. But behind the scenes, police chiefs were getting jumpy too. Between you and I only, RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucki wrote to her Ontario Provincial Police counterpart Thomas Carrick, the Government of Canada losing/lost confidence in Ottawa Police Service. We gotta get to safe action/enforcement. And if they go to the Emergencies Act, you or I may be brought in to lead, not something I want. In testimony today, Carrick said at the time his force was also watching the takeover of the Ambassador Bridge in Windsor, a blockade the OPP helped Windsor Police resolve without the Emergencies Act.
We did agree to assist, but it was with a clear understanding that although it was a unified command, that we would be in charge of the development and execution of the plan.
As the convoy in the capital stayed entrenched, Carrick said he was about to offer to help local police there.
I had undertaken the task of speaking with Chief Slowly when he was free to ask if he would consider, if he needed or was willing to allow us to assume command and control if we were not able to move the plan forward.
Slowly wound up resigning before that conversation happened. It's not the first day his name has come up in testimony. Neither is Carrick the first witness to suggest the former Ottawa police chief did not want to give up control to other forces. Slowly is expected to take the stand Friday. Rafi Bujikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is making his first official visit to Ottawa. He's meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and other Canadian officials over 2 days. So far, a focus has been the war in Ukraine.
The United States and Canada working together helped prepare for the rising storm that we saw, and then tried to make sure that Ukrainians have what they need to fend off the aggression and retake their land.
At his first stop, Blinken was joined by Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly and Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland. They visited a resource center for Ukrainians who have been displaced by the Russian invasion. Blinken is also talking with government officials about refugees, border security, Arctic sovereignty, and the ongoing problems in Haiti. Ethan is back with another look at the forecast.
And we are looking at clear skies in Regina and through southern Saskatchewan tonight. Natasha, near the freezing mark at midnight, those southwest gusts going to continue to pick up through the night, around 30 kilometers an hour or so. And then as we get into tomorrow morning, gusts die down a little bit. Still going to be at 2 degrees, mainly sunny conditions, and those mainly sunny skies going to be sticking around as we head into the afternoon. 7 degrees with mainly sunny skies. Around 33 kilometer an hour gusts, those will be picking up a little bit more. Warm night in Saskatoon tonight at midnight, gusts close to 40 kilometers an hour. Tomorrow morning, cloud cover starts building in. We'll see a temperature around 4 degrees, and then getting toward the afternoon, mostly cloudy at this point. Southwest gusts going to be getting close to 30, but a nice day, Natasha, heading to the mid-teens.
Thanks for that, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Before we leave you tonight, a blast from the past. 5 years ago today, the old Taylor Field Stadium came down for good. That was the scene on October 27th, 2017. The stadium was taken apart piece by piece until that day when explosives were used to bring down the final pieces. Since then, the site has remained empty, used mostly as a parking lot for the new Mosaic Stadium. The city has said it planned to build a mix of housing and community space there, but that is still being discussed to this day. That's it for us tonight. For news anytime, head to cbc.ca/sask. Dan Plaster will be back with more local news at 11. Thanks for watching.